Over the past year, as I have been doing my own personal devotions, I've been going through the Bible, and every day I choose a verse that I dive into. I look up the meaning of the words in Hebrew and Greek. I ask myself personal questions based off of the verse that I'm reading. There's so much that we can learn from a single verse in the scripture. One of my most beneficial studies was of Matthew 5, specifically the Beatitudes. And the verse that continuously keeps coming up in my mind over this past year has been Matthew 5:9. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. Now, a big question here is, when we look at the Bible, what is the meaning of the word peace? There are many times throughout the Bible where peace means the absence of war. And that, of course, makes sense to us. But the word peace in the Bible means something much, much more than simply the absence of war. The Hebrew word for peace is shalom. Probably most of us have heard this word of shalom before. And shalom is translated into the word peace, but there is a much deeper meaning to the word shalom. Shalom means to complete. Shalom means to make sound. Shalom, to use another word that many of us, when we read the Bible, are familiar with, means restoration, to restore. The word shalom conjures up images of a wall that is cracked and in need of repair, or a wall that has stones that are missing, and so there are gaps within this wall, and shalom is to repair those cracks. Shalom is to fill in those gaps. This is the peace that shalom speaks to. And as we think about this and we recognize this, I can't help but be reminded that Jesus is called the Prince of Peace. And I can't help but put this idea of shalom and the fact that Jesus is called the Prince of Peace together without realizing that, yes, when Jesus came to complete. In Matthew 5:17, Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law. Do not think that I have come to abolish the things of the past. No, I have come to fulfill it, to complete it." Jesus came to complete. Jesus came to restore. Jesus came to repair the cracks. Jesus came to fill the gaps, to repair the cracks and fill the gaps that were sin and death. And this is the Messiah that the Bible speaks to. This is the God that the Bible speaks to. A God that seeks after restoration, not only with us, but with all of creation. A Messiah that sought after shalom, that sought after peace so much that he was willing to shed his own blood, to carry a cross, and even to die upon that cross. Why is it that we only seem to worship the Prince of Peace during Christmas time and Christmas songs? Jesus is always bearing this title of the Prince of Peace. As followers of the Prince of Peace, shouldn't we be striving? Shouldn't we be seeking after shalom, after completeness, after peace, just like Jesus did, just like God does? Peace is extremely hard to find in the world. Just turn on your TV or open your newspaper or even scroll down your Facebook feed, and you'll be confronted with this fact that peace is extremely hard to find. We live in a world of conflict. We live in a world of division. We live in a world of an us versus them mentality. If you are not for us, then we are against you. This is the message that we are constantly bombarded from every side with. But for us as Christians, the question is, what message are we going to listen to? Again, in Matthew 5:9, Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." And I think that it's really important that we take notice that Jesus does not say the word peacekeeper, but instead says peacemaker. Being a peacemaker is different than being a peacekeeper. It's not to say that being a peacekeeper isn't important, because keeping the peace that is already there, certainly, that is good and that is biblical. But let's be honest, being a peacemaker, that's much more difficult. Being a peacemaker is much more active. Being a peacemaker is much more radical. In the words of modern-day peacemaker Michael Martin, there is no room to imagine a garden when your mind is consumed with the next best way to destroy. Or in other words, how can we seek after peace when our minds are consumed with ways to destroy the ones who disagree with us, our enemies, with either a clenched fist or with our words? Peacemakers both seek to keep the peace that is unbroken, but also seek to restore what is broken. Peacemakers lay down their swords while their enemies still brandish theirs. Peacemakers pick up the spackle and pick up the stones in order to repair the cracks and to fill in the gaps. The word of peace appears over 400 times in the Bible. This should signify to us that this is a pretty important concept. And echoing the blessing and the words of Jesus, Paul says in Romans chapter 12, verse 18, "If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." When I read this verse is speaking to me. When you read or hear this verse is speaking to you. God doesn't expect for us to be able to change the hearts of others. But what God does care about is what is in your heart. And so let's reflect upon Paul's words one more time. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Ask yourself, am I living the life of a peacemaker? Are my words, are my actions seeking to harm, seeking to destroy, seeking to conquer? Or can I honestly say that I am seeking to live at peace with everyone as far as it depends on me. Letting go of our pride and being able to look inside and reflect upon ourselves is a crucial part in being able to follow Jesus. And if you're up for a real challenge, go and find somebody that you disagree with and ask them, do you see me as a peacemaker? If Jesus were to look at the way that I think, the way that I speak, the way that I act, would Jesus cite to me the words of Matthew 5:9? Would Jesus say to me, "Blessed are you, peacemaker, for you shall be called a child of God"? Or would Jesus have a different message for me, for you? Let's seek to follow the Prince of Peace. Let's seek after being peacemakers in our own lives.